Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Kings of the North, day number 2. We're going to be hopping into our next series very soon, and it is going to be one that I think if there is a David of versus Goliath of this tournament, it is this match.
Yeah, it is going to be MaSa versus desRow. Let's take a look at the maps right now. We are going to have the first map. Dun, 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 dun.
Mapped somewhere around here. In
Looks
this
like
general vicinity.
The first map's going to be Dusk Towers.
Dusk Towers.
That seems to be a very
Right
standard first map. I think almost every game, probably 50% of the games were played on Dusk Towers yesterday for the best
I'm
of
not
ones.
gonna say that it is one of the most standard maps to see alongside, Orbital Shipyard and everything.
Yep.
But also, it's worth mentioning that, with 4 Protoss at the tournament, Protoss seem to be liking Orbital Shipyard and Dusk Towers the most.
Yeah, you can get up those 3 bases. You feel a lot more comfortable. Can
Yeah.
push it to a macro game.
Occasionally, we get to see Ruins of Saras.
Yep. Yeah. Or Orbital Shipyard, as you said.
Yeah,
But
and Dusk Towers actually was MaSa's first pick, as
Yes.
Ruins of Saras, I speak of the devil, game number 2, and if we end up seeing game number 3, it will be Laralac Crest.
all right. So it looks like we'll be going into the game right about now. They are getting started.
And we're going to go ahead and jump in and introduce the players as we spawn up here in the top right-hand corner of the map on top of the orange Protoss player. Give it up for the teamless player, desRow.
And in the bottom left position, the red Terran player spawning with Team Elevate. It is MaSa. MaSa with that cool little decal. Looks like there's some elevation right there.
You might say that he is on an elevated platform of that mountain.
Yes. He might look to elevate himself above his opponent.
If he was in Dota, I would actually say he was part of the Team Summit.
Oh, very clever. desRow is going to be coming for a probe scout. Looks like he's going for looks like a gate nexus based on his minerals.
Yeah, I really do feel like we need to talk about the playstyle of these two players during the intro, because it's so important to factor in and to know the general idea of what these two players like to play like. Because, MaSa, a very aggressive player, and his entire, I think, game plan often revolves around disrupting his opponent, getting into their heads, doing very subtle little ways to rearrange his build to do more aggressive push-ins. But desRow is actually a really great macro player, but what he struggles with is all of that form of aggression. He gets set off very easily in the early stages of the game.
Yes, dealing with that little chip damage is just it's what really separates the really good players from the really, really great players. And MaSa is just so good at that little chip damage. Actually, missing the probe a little bit. We do see it sneaking around inside the base. There he finds it. Nicely done from MaSa. Going to pick off that probe. Not going to let desRow get a later scout at any point. Looks like desRow is going for that Adept follow-up. Just going to be probably going for a bit of scouting, whereas MaSa, I believe he's now getting that factory. Yeah, factory and a reactor. Just going to be pumping out those Marines. That looks like a robotics facility on the way.
Yeah, this is kind of typical desRow. He likes to go for that safe and standard style, getting out of robotic facility, getting out. I think that's actually very traditionally just always been considered like a safe thing to do.
Oh, absolutely. It lets you get out the observer. You can maybe
Immortals for safety.
Yep.
Just Immortals in general, as we saw in the Huck versus MaSa game. Very strong units in general, even in the mid and late game stages.
This is interesting. He's actually going for a very fast Twilight Council as well. I wonder if he might be going for a quick, maybe resonating glaives attack. Oh, looks like the grenade actually bounces that Adept towards MaSa.
Yeah.
But he does let the Shade finish, so the Adept, or this Reaper is going to be able to scout, maybe?
Stalker looking for him. desRow really does not want to let MaSa get too much of an idea of what's going on.
Oh,
That Stalker is going to find the Reaper, but
Oh,
the Reaper
but
may be able to get out of here just barely alive.
Oh,
He does escape.
So low HP. 1 HP just regenerated
Oh, that
enough.
probe. He's out for blood, but the Twilight Council has been scouted, as well as, I believe, the robotics facility. Not quite scouted, but
That's actually kind of good for desRow, to be honest.
it's nice to have confirmation of the robotics facility, just because you can know if your opponent's cutting some corners. But in general, it's very, very unconventional to see your opponent not get a robotics facility at some point in the early stages of the game, just because you have to be prepared for some sort of Widowmine drop or any sort of harassment.
Yes, the only advantage there for desRow is that MaSa might be thinking that there's possibly DTs coming in, but we can tell that he's actually going for a defensive blink
Yeah.
With 3 gateways, and probably going to be trying to take that third base sometime soon. But, oh, looks like the Observer does just catch that Liberator coming out from MaSa.
That's actually a really, really important find. Of course, also seeing the Widowmine. How did that Widowmine actually get low on health? Did it?
It got attacked by the Adept, I believe, and then murdered that Adept.
It got attacked, and then it decided that it was better than it. But the Liberator, as you mentioned, going to be making its way across the map. Going to be able to siege up in this main base, but a nicely positioned pylon. Going to make it a little bit harder for MaSa to find a nice angle of attack.
desRow might be waiting for the siege, but oh, MaSa smarter than that, recognizing, no, I'm going to just do this.
Yeah, should be able to kill off one Stalker.
That's a really good trade for desRow right there. Ooh, nice. I believe he target fired down a worker with that last Liberator shot, recognizing he was just going to take the shields off. Yeah, nicely done there from MaSa. Doing what he can with what he's got, and that's what we were talking about, that little chip damage. Even though he lost the Liberator in an unfavorable trade, he still managed to get the most possible out of it.
Yeah, and you know, I will say MaSa is a very, very strong player, even in the late game, but I will actually say the longer this game goes on where desRow doesn't take a lot of damage, the better chances I feel like he has. As this game goes on, he's going to get into that more comfortable macro mode style, and as long as he doesn't get, you know, some big doom drop flooding into his main base or something, I actually think he stands a pretty good chance.
Yeah, and I like this actually from desRow, going to be pushing out with these Blink Stalkers, but he's got a nice Blink control, not actually losing any Blink Stalkers. Very nice, actually. Doing quite a bit of damage. There's no medevacs out on the field just yet. Those are just getting started now, I believe. And, yeah, if he can poke in there, he might be able to pick off a few more units.
You know, I mean, realistically, you can always go into this game and say, like, oh, you know, well, it's MaSa versus desRow. MaSa is very much expected to win this. But I have to say, looking at this from an almost unbiased perspective, I like desRow's position a lot better. He got his third up nice and early on. Only now is that orbital command landing for MaSa. desRow's done a great job of defending against all of the forms of aggression so far from MaSa, and he's even setting himself up with some nice Blink micro. He's putting on more additional harassment. He's getting up Storm. He's really setting himself up for a great late game.
Yeah, this is actually what I was talking about before when I was mentioning desRow's play. It looks more solid and tighter than maybe people are looking at desRow. Yeah. Oh, like desRow shouldn't be here, but no, he's actually looking in a nice position. Uses those Adepts, going to force some mining away from the third base.
And pull the army back. Look, the entire army is coming back. It was looking to do some harassment. And this is what I was talking about, where MaSa, the one thing that I would say, I wouldn't even call it necessarily a weakness, but a potential thing that can be exploited, is the fact that he always sends out most of his army. He's not really leaving any of his army at home.
And desRow kind of exploiting that, kills off quite a few workers, and even gets the 3 Adepts away from there. Is that Warp Prism going to go down? No, sticks around.
Stays alive. More medevacs coming out, so no Vikings going to be thwarting that Warp Prism anytime soon. Storm is going to be finishing up because he pulled that entire army back. He's going to have Storm for the big push.
Yes, looks like he's actually building quite a few cannons, recognizes who he's playing against. MaSa, so well known for those drops. We'll see if desRow can do a better job defending than maybe Need did yesterday.
Yeah. It does get a little bit scary, though, because MaSa is very good at just getting out of the storms very quickly. Stalker's engaging, and he does blink out, doesn't lose a single one. And, man, I know we keep complimenting desRow, but I'm just really impressed with how he's handling this game so far.
Yeah, but this is actually quite a scary push from MaSa, and there's not a lot of High Templar storms.
Yeah.
I believe there's only 2 with that army. I don't know how many more High Templar there are on the map.
Yeah, both of these High Templars should have another storm coming up
soon.
Actually,
really big storm.
And you know what? I think it's such a subtle thing, but moving in to engage that army was so important, because if he had just allowed that army to get over down to the bottom of that ramp and keep desRow on the high ground, then very easily MaSa can just lift up and go to the main base and maybe make it a little bit easier of an engagement. He has more time to spread out. He gets situated and starts taking out stuff before anything else happens. At the same time, there is a harassment still happening on the other side of the map, and desRow tries to push in at the same time.
You know what? I'm really impressed. desRow is playing quite well right now.
Are we watching Need? Did we get the matchup wrong?
We might have done so. This is just really solid play from desRow. desRow did try and go for a 4th base right there, but it was denied by the Marine. So he's going to send out another probe. I'm not sure how I feel about him sending his whole army there, but not going to get punished just this time. He does have good observer coverage, so he knows where MaSa's army is.
Oh, +1 armor going to be finishing up in a matter of seconds for desRow, right in time to even up those upgrades. And again, that Warp Prism's still alive and able to do a little bit of harassment. There is a Widowmine prepared the next time the Warp Prism tries to go back in, so desRow going to have to be a little bit careful about that. But
very quick double Stargate for Tempest, but we do see the army pushing into the 4th base.
Yeah, and desRow is going to be a little bit out of position for this one. Adept's trying to move in, and some storms going down, but these are more zoning storms. The 4th expansion doesn't get canceled. Oh, a little bit.
Adept shading in on top of the army, but they eat some big Widowmine shots. Wow, MaSa actually taking a big advantage in this fight.
And there's no storms left over, and now the Immortals starting to go down one after the other. Things are looking so good for desRow. He doesn't have another storm. That storm is beautiful! And we end up seeing so much of this army getting obliterated. Storm coming from the backside as well. And even though desRow doesn't quite take the most amazing engagement, he does lose his 4th expansion, but he trades evenly enough that I think he's still going to be holding on for a bit.
I don't know. This is the army supply lead is really big for MaSa. This is going to be tough for him to hold those Widowmines.
That High Templar has 2 High Storms ready and waiting. The army has been healed up because there are so many medevacs over here. But as you were saying, those Widowmines, sniping off one of the High Templars. And that is going to be one of the final storms. There's no Observer over here. He was really relying. There is the Observer. He can finally take those guys out. But where are the Fortune Overturns? Where's the Mothership Core? Did it get killed off? No, it's there.
Looks like this is just going to maybe be too much for desRow to handle. MaSa's pushing in here, is going to take down this pylon with Photon Overcharge, picking off some Adepts on the bottom of the army, and desRow just doesn't have an anchor for this army anymore, losing those Immortals.
High Templar almost had another storm that could have actually maybe been enough to start turning this around with the Immortals coming out. But here we end up seeing the probes being pulled. desRow knows that is a bad situation. The Widowmine's actually going to explode on the probes.
Nice split actually there from desRow, only taking 1 Widowmine shot.
It's sort of amazing that out at the end of the day, desRow's only down 10 workers, but GG, MaSa takes game number 1, very, very quickly turning the tides of the game.
Yeah, that looked very even until MaSa decided it wasn't.
Yeah, MaSa just decided, you know what, actually, when it comes down to the army engagement, that's where I'm going to pick you apart.
Yeah, I think he might have even gotten a little bit embarrassed there, said, oh, wait, this game is starting to go pretty long. I don't know. I'm going to kill him.
Yeah, I just...
Should I kill him?
I'm going to end this.
Guys, what does the audience think? Should I kill him?
What is the audience? Can I get a poll?
Yeah, he just goes on Twitch chat, starts a straw poll. Should I kill him?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, his macro at home, he's got, like, 57 minerals, 3 gas in the bank. He's just perfect production. He's like, what do you think? Type 1 in chat or kill desRow. Kill 1 1 1 1 1. Okay, kill desRow. Okay. And then he goes in and
didn't
just
even give another option.
Yeah.
there was no like type 2 if you don't want to be killed. No, just kill desRow.
Yeah.
But you know, I want to talk about why that sort of happened. Like what happened in that sort of game that made it play out that way. And I don't know if we actually have any of the replays set up or if we're only going to be playing those at the end of the series. Maybe we can actually recap that at the end of the series.
Yes, but just going, I think the big key moment that MaSa went really far ahead was there was a fight around the 4th base.
Yeah, and let's see if we can actually take a look at it right now. I do believe we have replays. Our awesome production is ready. But yeah, here we end up seeing, I think that the Reaper then managed to get the scout off on the Twilight Council.
Yes.
Sort of funny though, because we didn't see like a massive Blink Stalker push in. There was like a bit of harassment. That
nice snipe with the Liberator on the Marine, or the probe.
Yeah, but this was just like a bit of form of harassment, and desRow did a great job not really losing any of these Stalkers. All these early game stuff, I really feel like went really well for desRow, but here we end up seeing that big push in.
That big storm. This is what I was talking about right here. desRow's army got pushed out of position.
Yeah.
MaSa was able to take the high ground. desRow, after losing his base, he still goes in, takes a huge Widowmine shot onto his Adepts. And
yeah, that one engagement just turned things on its head.
Yes,
Being out of position once, that's all it takes.
That's all it takes against a player of MaSa's caliber. And MaSa...
Oh, that storm, though. You know, that storm really did give me hope about things. But yeah, losing the 4th...
It was just a little bit too much at that point.
Yeah, and at this was the other thing, is, you know, MaSa started kind of wising up to all the storms and everything. And of course, losing those High Templars also really sucks. You see this High Templar stays around for a little bit longer, but I believe very soon, you know, desRow maybe gets a little bit of that F2, you know, grab his all army and actually ends up losing some of these High Templars that he warps in.
Yeah, some of that, though, is also just good target fire from MaSa.
Yeah, that's true.
MaSa always going to have that good micro. But really, it comes down to that fight at the 4th base. desRow got baited to the low ground, and then MaSa swung around underneath. Yeah. We saw a nice counterattack at the end of the game, but it was just a little too late.
Yeah. But with that being said, we are going to be hopping into our next game.